Hello everyone, welcome to another D&D 5th edition ranking. Thank you all for your patience, as I've been working on a bunch of projects lately, and I'm still trying to figure out how to make my chaotic good bard nature take up the work ethic of a lawful neutral Githzerai. I must dedicate my existence to the perfecting of the discipline of Zerthamon. Only then will I be able to lead the revolution against the secret gnome overlords that are controlling all of society. Are there any paladins watching? Maybe a cleric of Helm or Savras. Pray for my wild bardic heart. So this ranking is going to be from a slightly different angle, as we're going to look exclusively at stealth. I'm talking about monsters lurking around, hiding, moving quietly, camouflaging, changing appearances, otherwise utilizing sneakiness. Stealth is an interesting element that comes into play in nearly all aspects of Dungeons & Dragons. The most classic D&D party is a fighter, a wizard, a cleric, and a rogue. So that's 1/4 of the core adventuring identity already associated with stealth and trickery. Depending upon the wizard, you could easily include him as well. Stealth can be used to spy on enemies, or scout an area without being noticed. In combat, or leading up to combat, one can use stealth to ambush enemies or otherwise catch them off guard. Some creatures can even hide themselves multiple times, recurring throughout an encounter. The basics of stealth usage are fairly straightforward. The stealthy guy utilizes some kind of cover or concealment to go along undetected. Maybe sneaks up behind someone or does something to camouflage himself. When the moment comes that the opponent might notice him, he rolls a stealth check against the opponent's perception. If the opponent is actively paying attention to the surroundings, use a perception check. Or, if he's not, you can just use his passive perceptions, a static 10 plus his perception bonus. If the stealth check meets or exceeds the perception, the opponent does not notice the one who's sneaking. If you attack someone who didn't notice you, you gain advantage on the attack roll. Another point of interest is that at the beginning of combat, those who have successfully hidden themselves will typically get the jump on their enemies. You can use the surprised rules as written in the 5th edition Player's Handbook, or instead run a surprise round for the sneaky guys. Either way, it basically comes down to the hidden combatants getting to act while everyone else does not during that first round of combat. This can potentially make a big impact. Now, it's not possible for me to include every monster that's out there on this list because there's far too many, but we're going to see many examples of both stealthy and unstealthy monsters from the Monster Manual. In F tier, we come across monsters that are terrible at stealth. They'll probably never even attempt it, or if they do, their chances for success are very low. These include monsters that constantly radiate light, such as an angel, an azer, a fire elemental, a balor, or monsters that constantly make noise, like a gibbering mouther or a lemure, or monsters that are just too big to effectively use stealth. Giants, Tyrannosaurus, horses, rhinoceros, giraffe, elephant. There are also monsters that are too stupid to use stealth. The zombie is a classic example that I can think of, but we could probably also include golems as well. There are also the NPCs and the humanoids that are just not sneaky at all. Think of a soldier or a knight in heavy armor, a low dexterity NPC, a screaming orc rager. You can place these monsters in situations that give them some stealth if you want. Perhaps the Balor's fire doesn't ignite until the beginning of combat. The fire elemental is hiding within an area of fire. The gibbering mouther just sounds like a person talking indistinctly in the next room until the characters enter. The golem is perfectly still behind full cover until it sees the characters. So these all work but they depend on the DM creating extra factors that give the monsters a chance at stealth. They themselves are incredibly unstealthy. D tier presents monsters and characters that only rely on regular, mundane stealth checks. Some of these have proficiency with the stealth skill, or in the least they have a decent dexterity score. We can think of humanoid monsters such as the kobold, Yanti, bugbears, lycanthropes. So these are all these humanoids that typically have some amount of dexterity and possibly some training in stealth. There are also the hunter-type animals, crocodiles, wolves, panthers, tigers, etc. These creatures all have a straightforward approach to sneaking. They just use regular old cover or concealment and roll a stealth check, and they just hope to beat the opponent's perception. That's all they got. Once they attack or get discovered, the stealth jig is up. Unless the current scenario provides them ample means by which they can go back into hiding, it probably will only happen during that initial ambush attempt. They're not terrible at stealth, they just don't have anything special. In C tier, we find creatures that have some kind of edge that allows them to go beyond just these mundane stealth checks that we found in D tier. There are monsters that look like other things until they start fighting. The Galabdur and the Zorn look like rocks, Ropers and Piercers look like stalagmites and stalactites. Shambling Mounds look like plant matter. The different fungus monsters just look like fungus. A treant looks like a tree. Cloaker looks like a cloak. Animated object just looks like that object. A mimic looks like about any kind of object. A doppelganger looks like a non-enemy. A gelatinous cube looks like nothing. I will admit, like D tier, these monsters usually just have the one-time stealth where they ambush the party at the start of the encounter, but it's more effective than just a bare stealth check. We should also consider monsters and animals that are very small. A weasel, a cat, an owl, a rat, etc. And monsters that have abilities to reach unusual locations where they can hide. Oozes can hide in nooks and crannies. Giant spiders have stealth plus spider climb. The Grell has stealth plus flying. The Boulet, and the Blue Dragon have burrowing. In fact, all dragons have stealth plus flying. And some have swim and breathe water as well, so that helps with stealth a lot. All of these creatures have some advanced kind of mobility or camouflage that allows them to access a better type of sneaking compared to low-tier stealthers. A wolf just lurks in the bushes or the shadows and hopes his basic stealth check will get him that coveted surprise attack. But a roper, well, he looks just like a stalagmite and posts up where he knows prey will come walking by. Or a blue dragon comes up from the sandy pyramid floor right behind the adventurers. A DM should be creative whenever possible, because encounter terrain can make battles really interesting and dynamic. Now, maybe you don't have the time to come up with in-depth dungeon maps, or maybe designing them is just not your strong suit. Well, fear not, brave soul. Every month, I'm releasing free dungeon maps. You can download them, you can print them. In fact, I just released the whole set of the dungeon from my adventure Beneath Pale Man's Grave. There's a link down in the video description. That's it, just go down to the dungeon below the video. And for those who support me as patrons, you get access to a lot more maps and even monthly custom monsters that come from my patrons' own concepts. So check it out, and I hope you enjoy them. Now we arrive at B tier, which is always a big turning point in these ranking videos. All of the monsters here have special stealth abilities that allow them to viably go back into hiding during the same encounter. Some of these monsters have bonus action hide. Shadows have it, shadow dragons have it, goblins have it. These creatures have high stealth skill, and they can hide as a bonus action. So if melee isn't going well for them, or they want to try another ambush type thing, they can use their action to disengage, then move into a dark or covered area and make a stealth check to hide all in the same turn. There are also the monsters that have incorporeal movement, and this is even better. Monsters like the Spectre, Ghost, Banshee, the Shadow Demon, they can disengage, and they can just phase right through a wall or other hard cover, and then they'll return sooner or later. The Dark Mantle spans a few different subcategories. It has flight and the false appearance of a stalactite, but it can also create an aura of darkness once per day, like the darkness spell, and it can detect enemies within the dark area due to its blind sight. We see this same great tactic with some of the Yugoloths as well. We'll get into them in a moment. Drow are another creature that have a stealthy and agile nature, plus innate darkness spells, and Drow mages in particular have powerful invisibility magic. The octopus also has the multiple traits going on. It's very sneaky with advantage on stealth checks due to its camouflage, and it swims. Plus, think about how underwater is not always a clear environment where you can see things to begin with. It also has, once per rest, an ink cloud ability. And let's not forget vampires, who have high stealth bonuses to begin with, and spider climb, and a bat form, and a misty escape if reduced to 0 hit points, and possibly even spell casting, including greater invisibility and other stealth type spells, especially if the DM makes a custom vampire mage with illusion magic. So with B tier stealthers, we really see monsters that can greatly fulfill the lurker archetype. Those who can hit and run or hit and stealth, not just jumping out, aha, at the beginning of a combat encounter only. A tier stealthers are just incredible at what they do. And pretty much they put all the others to shame. These monsters constantly use invisibility. And if you haven't seen them in play against powerful player characters, they might actually appear overpowered on paper. A number of monsters have at-will invisibility and spellcasting. There's the Fairy Dragon, Pixie, Sprite, the Oni, the Grey Slod and the Death Slod, the Arcanoloth, Nikoloth, Ultraloth, the Green Hag and the Night Hag. These are all incredible monsters. The Water Weird is invisible when it's in water, and it's basically always in water. The Quasite and the Imp have at-will invisibility and their tiny size, and they fly. The Will-O-Wisp is one of my personal favorite monsters, has at-will invisibility, and it flies very fast, and has incorporeal movement. Incredible. And the Invisible Stalker is just invisible. Period. As well, there's always the potential for an enemy spellcaster that has high-level stealth capabilities. Just think that a 7th level sorcerer or wizard NPC is basically only CR4 and would already have access to greater invisibility. In fact, I believe bards do as well. Yes, we do. These here creatures in A tier make for some great recurring villain type monsters, which is a fantastic thing to feature in your campaigns because, it creates storytelling due to the ongoing plot. And the players are going to care more about these monsters because they become something of an emotional connection with the players, even if that emotion is a frustrating or unsettling one. There are many ways to deal with stealthy monsters, of course. In fact, at mid and high levels, there are some incredibly effective solutions, but that would be a topic for a different video. So for now, I hope that you DMs out there give some thought to running encounters that utilize stealth monsters. You are going to find that they take a little bit of practice to learn how to run them well, but once you see their potential to spice up the game, you're going to get a great kick out of it. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you got something out of this video, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've got plans for more monster rankings, deep lore delves, more narrated adventures, dungeon map drawing tutorials, really a lot more. Show me some love. It keeps the owlbears away. This is Esper. May your adventures be many.